Good evening, one and all. I hope you're well. Yesterday, I had maybe a little bit too much wine. And the feeling came over me to polish a couple of pairs of shoes. Who knows why? But one of the pairs, which I first used shoe cream to feed them, then you let them dry and polish it off, and then I used the polish, and I thought to myself, these are a work of art. They're made by John Lobb. You can look up online. The John Lobb bespoke service goes back, and they've made shoes for all sorts of kings and queens and people from all countries all over the place come, and they've still got the wooden lasts and so on and so forth there. But these are from their ready-to-wear range. How I came by them? Well, some years ago, I said to my baby at the time, "Do you fancy a day out?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "How about Northampton?" I said, "Well, Northampton is where many of the English shoe manufacturers are and have historically been. Churches, Crockett and Jones, Trickers, Grenson, Alfred Sargent, I'm not sure, John Lobb, ready to wear." So she agreed. She's even quite keen. Yeah. First of all, I went to Crockett and Jones, my favourite, and you look around the factory shop, and they keep it all sort of old school and wooden and sawdust and stuff. And what they sell there are seconds or rejects, so shoes which haven't passed the final quality control, and you can get them at a discount. I noticed a bit of a styly there. They don't tell you what's wrong. It's like, there the shoes are. You look, find your size, see if there's one you like, and you examine them, and then you decide whether you buy them or not. So they're kind of keeping out of it, in a sense. So I went to Crockett and Jones, and then I went to John Lobb, which was fascinating. Sort of stacks and stacks, an almost apparent mess, with some older ladies sort of around the place. And you just have to rummage for yourself. And there were people from all over the world, I imagine, but I don't know languages, but I think African people, and it seemed to be Chinese or Japanese, and they were on the phones back home, I assume, because when they're over here, they're buying for other people as well. And I was there, and my baby, she said, I was looking amongst all these things, you have to climb up ladders on some of them. And she saw these. They were my size. I looked at them and I tried them on. And of course, I had to get them because she'd suggested them. So what I'm going to do is show them to you. They've got R stamped on the inside, which I think means reject, so I don't know what it means. Some people say that sometimes they have shoes which are no longer the current season. These are 2007, and I don't know when I was there, probably 2009, don't know. But I wonder about that. Would you really do that? Discount them? Maybe you would. I think R probably stands for rejects. I don't know. Something I spotted. I'm not going to say anything till the end. And you can see whether you think that's the reason. I've scrutinised them, as you can imagine. Anyway, for now, I'd just like to show them to you, really, if you don't mind. Here they are. Going to show them to you from different angles, maybe one pair at a time because I'm not that dexterous. My neighbour's having a good old Skype session upstairs. When he does that, he shouts. I'm going to set up the camera from above so you can see close up. I'm remembering to keep my eyes out of the equation because otherwise it focuses on me. The camera has no taste. I'm going to set it up from above, show you what I like, what I'm fascinated by, and see if you can spot what it is that is maybe not quite right. Here they are from above. Before I begin looking closely, I'll just mention this. I've cut this from one of those insoles you can put in your shoe, because when I tried these on, when I first had them, I found them a little bit tight here. And I figured that would give, and it did. And then I found that they were maybe just a little bit loose here. Well, they were fine if this was pulled completely closed. But I like to have a little bit of leeway, because your feet change during the day. So I've found that instead of putting an insole in which affects the whole shoe, I cut this from an insole, put double-sided tape on, and then stick it on the tongue underneath there, and that gives me just a little bit more closure, and it also puts my foot down into the shoe rather than the insole lifting it up. If it's a bit too thick, you can remove the rubber part and then you get that thickness. And if you should come to sell the shoes, you can just remove it, and either if there's any sticky residue you can use lighter fuel, or if it's only a tiny bit, just talcum powder will be fine. So you'll see that later on. Something else I mentioned when I was cleaning them, let me put this close to the mic, is that the toe cap has a different sound to the vamp. So the toe cap has been burnished more and is smoother than the rest, and you can kind of see that. Let's look closely. I'll look at just one for the details, but maybe already you can see why I suspect these might be rejects, if that's what R stands for, and why they were in the factory shop. The punching here, if that's what it is very fine. When I was in the shop, I asked if I could see any chance of seeing the factory ever, and she said, no, we don't allow people in because we don't want people to see our processes. Look at that. And I think she mentioned during that conversation something about laser. So I'm wondering if this is done by laser. Who knows? Who cares? Stitching, very fine. The heel is, I'd say, relatively high. the leather is very soft. Look at the shape of that. Is it me? Or is that just kind of funky with the asymmetric last? I think what's known as a fiddleback there, like the back of a violin. Quite neat, JL, and a very good material. Why isn't that available? Well, it must be, but nobody uses it. I mean, it lasts. That's it. Job done. I like the way it swoops up there, which may be why it's why I need the padding in there. Almost from all angles to me. I mean, how do you do that out of leather? Look at that. To me, it's marvellous. The difficulty. I'll bring the other one back and then you can compare and you'll be able to see what it is I'm suspicious about, but I won't say anything just yet. Is people have different shapes, so you can have wide, but some people, one guy I knew did the gig I was on the boat, his feet were very wide here, so these would be no good for him whatsoever. But he had what was called a wide foot. And then it went narrower. Some people, it depends on where the joints are for your toes as well. So his probably had quite short toes and the broad bit of his foot was up there, so no good for him. If you've got quite long toes and the broad bit's back here, then these are probably better for you. Some people are broad here, some people have a high instep. So just saying a wide shoe, some people have a wide at the heel. And not, so it's to try and average that out for a ready-to-wear shoe is not easy. So these little adjustments I find are quite good. I'll show you in a minute. I'll quickly show you the other one, just sweep past it, in case you spot something that I haven't spotted as to why they might be considered rejects. As a pair. The sole has a concealed channel, so it's a Goodyear welted with the stitching, but the channel is concealed. But you can see at the top as it wears, the stitching comes through. That's not an issue, because when they stitch them, so I've read and seen or been told, it's wax thread and it's pulled through at a certain rate and tension, which causes the wax to soften and then it seals. But I've never had any problems with things coming undone. So what might it be? Can you see? There's a few marks there. I like my red wine. I've been very careful with them, but you know what's going to happen with shoes this colour. These are not really worn in yet, because when you wear your trousers rub, you get a darker. That's why I quite like brown shoes and lighter brown shoes. You get a darker burnishing where the trousers rub there and there. So you get all these different colours and a patina. So that's what those marks are there. That's nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but if I bring them closer, maybe you can see. Can you tell what it is yet? Tell you what I think. The punching on this one just about lines up with the apex. Yeah, don't forget the apex is a little bit like that. Yes. But on this one, seems to me it's off to the right. Maybe you've seen something else, but that's the only thing I can see that would cause them to be discounted.